As we start calendar 2009, I thought it would be a good idea to take a look back to 2008, and from my perspective, I want to identify for you what I consider to have been the top 10 events in the City of Douglasville government during this past year. So I hope you will join me today for On the Agenda. David Letterman has his top 10 list on many different subjects. A lot of people put together lists to look back to what the year behind them has been, or looking ahead, top 10 lists for the future. But I want to take this opportunity on the agenda as city manager in Douglasville, from my perspective, to look back on what I think have been the top 10 events in the City of Douglasville government in calendar 2008. We did start the year with a special meeting of the City Council on January the 3rd, and we had 4 elected officials who took their oaths of office at that time. Mickey Thompson was sworn in to begin his 3rd 4-year term as mayor of the City of Douglasville. We also had Roy Mims, who was sworn in to begin his 2nd 4-year term from Ward 5. We had John Shildroth, who had completed a partial term, and he was sworn in for his first full 4-year term. And then we had Terry Miller being sworn in as a new member of the City Council. At that same meeting, Henry Mitchell was selected by his peers to be the Mayor Pro Tem. Then in the spring, Councilman Mitchell resigned from the City Council in order to run for countywide office, and Roy Mims was selected to be the Mayor Pro Tem. And then on September the 16th, the special election of the City Council, LaShawn Burr Danley was elected to be the new council member replacing Mr. Mitchell. We had another event during calendar 2008 involving the City Council that was very important to us in city government. And on May the 1st, we went paperless. We worked on this for a number of months, but we dispensed with all the paper that we had on putting together these agenda books. Everybody received a laptop. We did training on that, and it did totally change the way we did the operation of the City Council, and this took place, as I say, in the spring of 2008. Now, having given you that introduction, let me move to my top 10 list. And I'm going to do like a lot of people do, is we're going to start with number 10 and work our way down to number 1 on the list. Number 10 was establishment of an industrial park. This took place very recently. Actually, it was a City Council meeting on November the 3rd, in which more than 400 acres in the tributary part of Douglasville was rezoned from residential to industrial. Now, Tributary is a multi-use development south of Sweetwater Creek State Park. Actually, it's located on both sides of Riverside Parkway to the west of Camp Creek Parkway. And we had support from the residents of Tributary to make this rezoning change. And so that was approved. The City Council did put a lot of restrictions on this 404-acre tract because we want to be sure that we get good quality development there. But this was the first large-scale industrial park to be created in the city in a number of years. I believe it opens some very great possibilities to us for creation of an employment center. I look forward to the time that we will be making announcements of first one industry and then another locating in this industrial park. And this new park will be a great companion to the office park, which already had been established in Tributary, and that's where the Red Cross headquarters are located. But that's number 10 on my list. Now, a day after this action by the City Council, then we had what I consider to be major event number 9 on the list. And from the city government standpoint, it was a result that we were not looking for, but because we were very hopeful that on November the 4th, that in a special election, the voters of the city would approve the ability of the city government to establish tax allocation districts within the city. We felt like that this would be a good economic development tool. And the Chamber of Commerce, city officials, the development community, we had all promoted this. But actually when the votes were counted, we had 514 voters said no. Only 432 voters were interested in giving the city the ability to establish TADs. And while there are a number of reasons that I might cite for you as to why this referendum did not succeed, bottom line is that in 2008, the voters exercised their right at the polls and they said no. Number 8 on my list is Chapel Hill Road improvements. Chapel Hill Road has been a top priority for the city of Douglasville for several years. 2008 was no exception. At the start of 2008, we had a project underway to improve 5 intersections on Chapel Hill Road, another one on Stewart Mill Road. This was looking at putting in turn lanes, doing curb and gutter work, making other improvements at the intersections, 3 new traffic signals to be installed. And I believe those of you who travel Chapel Hill Road and Stewart Mill Road would agree with me that it's made these roads safer and certainly has increased the time it takes, shortened the time rather it takes from you to travel from point to point on Chapel Hill Road. Price tag on this project was about $2.1 million, and this was paid for out of the 2002 SPLOST funds for the city of Douglasville. Now, at the end of 2008, we had started another improvement project on Chapel Hill Road. This is between I-20 to just south of Stewart Mill Road. GDOT, the Georgia Department of Transportation, is contributing about $615,000 to this project. The city, through the 2002 SPLOST program, is putting up the rest of the money. Actually, this total project, which is about $2 million, started 3 years ago. We wanted to move quicker than GDOT was prepared to move, so you remember when we put in the concrete medium there on Douglas Boulevard at Chapel Hill Road, we changed the timing on the signals. We made some changes in lane identifications and some other improvements to try to improve the flow of traffic, especially during the holiday season, but also throughout the year. And that really worked effectively for us. So we're delighted that those changes were made then. We've got these other changes that are being ready to be made now. And when the work that will actually be starting on the ground early in 2009, when that work is completed, we will be through with all of our projects on Chapel Hill Road for the foreseeable future. Now, if you go to number 7 on my list, I identify this as maintaining home rule. And this priority actually took place under the Gold Dome rather than here at City Hall, because during the 2008 session of the Georgia General Assembly, there were a number of bills introduced which, in my opinion, if they had passed, would have reduced a city government's ability or county government's ability to continue the kind of local decision making that we have had in Georgia during the past 30 to 35 years. The most dangerous measure, in my opinion, that was introduced was the so-called Great Plan from House Speaker Glenn Richardson. It would have replaced property tax revenues with an increase in the percent being collected on sales tax. The Georgia Municipal Association, which is the organization of local governments throughout the state, it led the opposition to the Great Plan because we still feel that sales tax are much more uncertain tax, a lot more volatility with sales tax, as we've certainly seen over the last few months. The property tax is a much more stable tax, and so for that reason we felt like no change should be made. Plus the fact that the way the General Assembly was looking at the Great Plan, it would have turned over great power to the state government, because they would have determined how those sales tax dollars, once collected by the state, would go back to be reallocated to local governments, so they would have had far more control over local governments. None of the bills that were introduced concerning property tax assessments, other controls by the state legislature over local governments passed in 2008, 2009 session. No, I'm sure we'll still see some of those reintroduced, but that was priority number 7 for the year. Priority number 6, major event in 2008, was Hunter Park plans. A few weeks ago, the City Council voted to initiate a comprehensive renovation plan in Hunter Park. A concept plan prepared by Breedlove Land Planning was approved by the City Council on October the 6th. Then on November the 17th, the City Council voted to employ Breedlove Land Planning to come up with the more detailed design for all of these improvements. And once those plans have been prepared, then we'll look at putting this out for bids. What we're talking about is, at this point, is Breedlove preparing detailed design services for ball fields, parking, playgrounds, stormwater drainage, and other park improvements. We'll also incorporate the multi-use community center that was designed a couple of years ago by the firm of Lyman Davis and Dooley. This will be located fronting on Gurley Road, between Gurley Road and the park lake. Now, when the city hired Breedlove to do these plans, the directions that we gave them is we wanted to cluster the ball fields to improve their operations, make them more efficient, look at upgrading the current ball fields that we were not planning to replace, and make sure we had adequate parking, because those of you who've been to Hunter Park know that parking is a major problem, but it will be changed significantly. When this plan is implemented, we'll have 900 parking spaces, far more than we've had in the past. The tennis center will be relocated somewhat and expanded. As part of this overall improvement, the Ike Owens building, the swimming pool, the field that has been used for football, those will be removed. Football operations already have been shifted to Davis Park. And so as part of this overall project, as I mentioned, we will have the new community center, which will replace the Ike Owens building. Now that's number 6 on my list. That completes the 5. We're going to take a break for City TV, and when we come back, we will do the top 5 events in Douglasville in 2008 from my perspective.
Hi, I'm James Griddle, and my City TV is streaming 24/7.
Okay, now here's the countdown on my top 5 events in the City of Douglasville government in 2008. And number 5 was the establishment of the City Development Authority. Rather than continuing to rely on the Development Authority of Douglas County for economic development in the city, a majority of the City Council agreed with Mayor Thompson's recommendation that we should establish, or actually reestablish, a City Development Authority. And this action came on July the 23rd, and we actually reactivated the City Development Authority that had first been created in 1973, but had not been active for many years. So the City Council appointed a 7-member board. Those board members selected Darren Bach, who is a resident of the Tributary community, to be the chairman of the City Development Authority. Janet Kelly was elected the vice chairman. The other members are Doug Dean, Cindy Picali, Charles Clark, Michael Kendall, and Mayor Thompson. I was selected to be the Development Authority's acting executive director until we can get a full-time executive director recruited and that person starts work. Now, the mission of the City Development Authority and its board is to create, or is to recruit, new businesses and industries into the city of Douglasville, and we've said we are looking for industries that will provide a significant number of employment opportunities, rather than just a few employees and a lot of warehouse space. That we want the jobs to be good paying jobs, and we want to not have industries that have a extremely high volume of big truck traffic. Now, number 4 on my list is the economy. I don't think there's any way to talk about 2008 without acknowledging the decline in the economic condition as being a major event. And while the Douglasville economy and the city government have not been hit like some other areas have, certainly the slowdown in the economy, the current recession certainly have taken a toll. Now in the spring of 2008, when we were working on our new budget, and that budget, our budget year goes from July 1, 2008 through June 30th, 2009, we took a very conservative approach. And boy, has that really turned out to be a good move on our part. We actually projected a 3% decrease in the budget from the previous year, even though we had growth that was continuing at that time. We projected major decreases in sales tax revenues and building permits, reducing these two revenue sources by more than $1.2 million. We projected smaller decreases in a number of other budget categories, including hotel-motel tax. But that's number 4 on my list. Now, number 3 on my list was the decision by the City Council to move forward with construction of the Bright Star Road connector. And that road actually now is under construction. This will relieve traffic congestion around Douglas Boulevard, Georgia Highway 5, Highway 5, I-20 interchange. We believe it will not only improve the flow of traffic, will make for safer driving conditions in this area. And we believe this new connector road will open up new development opportunities, new jobs, and other opportunities for our community. This project was identified about 10 years ago as being a project that would improve traffic mobility and traffic safety. And it was part of our 2002 SPLOSH program. But due to major cost increases in road construction that's happened not only in Douglasville, Douglas County, and the state of Georgia, but nationwide, tremendous increases in building materials for road construction. The result was that we had to put far more money into higher priority projects that we had. The Hospital Drive widening, the Chapel Hill Road projects that I've mentioned previously in this program, the engineering work for Georgia Highway 92 relocation that GDOT now is to pick up on moving toward construction. And because we considered the Bright Star Road connector and the tie-in with Rose Avenue to that be just one project, then the part of the city's responsibility actually on this project was to get right-of-way acquisition, and then GDOT to actually do the construction improvements on this intersection and on down to I-20. So we had certain costs involved there. The bottom line is that we didn't have funds left to do the construction of the Bright Star Road connector. But as I mentioned on a recent on the agenda discussion that I had with Mayor Thompson, that the City Council never lost sight of the fact that this was a very important project. And even when they saw that other high priority projects were going to use up the 2002 SPLOSH fund, so we wouldn't have construction monies for the Bright Star Road connector, they felt this project was so important that they voted to use $2.6 million from our reserve fund to do this project. It should be completed by the end of the summer. I believe that it will result in traffic moving more freely in the Highway 5, Douglas Boulevard, Highway 5, I-20 areas. At this time, I can't tell you when GDOT will complete work on the intersection and do the other improvements that it will do. But frankly, unless something changes at GDOT, I think that this will be done in the not too distant future. And in conclusion, let me note that we already are seeing some interest on the part of new development along the Bright Star Road connector. Don't expect any construction to start until the economy turns around, but we're continuing to have contact with a Connecticut firm that has consolidated a lot of the acreage along the Bright Star Road connector. And so that's number 3 on my list. Now number 2, my runner-up for the top event in 2008 is, I entitled it Downtown Douglasville's Future. Now for those of you who've worked in, shopped in, have visited downtown Douglasville in recent years, you know things have continued to change. I think being selected as one of the first communities in the Metro Atlanta area to receive funds under the Livable Centers Initiative, LCI program, that sparked some important planning in the downtown area. It gave us money that we could use to make improvements with sidewalks, street lighting, streets, and certain other improvements. Recently, our finance director, Karen Callan, told me that LCI federal funds that have come to us through the Atlanta Regional Commission have totaled more than $2.1 million. We used 2002 SPLOSH funds for the 20% cash match that the city had to provide. Now, being designated as an LCI community by ARC resulted, I believe, in our being able to get 4 transportation enhancement grants from the Georgia Department of Transportation. This is aggregated to some $2 million. We, of course, have completed the renovation of O'Neill Plaza. The other projects are moving closer to the implementation stage. That's Plaza East, as well as street light and other improvements on Dallas Highway and Campbellton Street. Also, State Representative Bill Hembry has secured some small grants for us, 2 of which in 2008 were used to help with the O'Neill stage cover and the signage that we have across the street from City Hall. Also in 2008, downtown, we expanded our Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's funded, as some of you may know, with a special hotel-motel tax located in the heart of downtown area. CVB now owns the building that they occupy on O'Neill Plaza and have expanded their operations, including a gift shop, Broad Street Gifts, which is open. Invite you to go by and check the merchandise out, which features things concerning the city of Douglasville and the downtown area. Our department in city government that deals with downtown, community and downtown services, the Main Street program, have worked with the Downtown Development Authority and the Historic Preservation Commission on various projects to improve downtown and to assist in putting together historic preservation guidelines and to prepare a master plan for downtown. We contracted with the well-known firm of the Sizemore Group. They're the firm that did Centennial Olympic Park and the Smyrna downtown area. In 2008 saw the unveiling of the plan that was put together for downtown Douglasville's future by the Sizemore Group. So we now have a broad direction for where we want to go with the downtown area. And included in that master plan is the possible incorporation of the property on which the jail and the sheriff's office is currently located. Of course, the county has bought land adjacent to the courthouse, where at some point they will move the sheriff's office and the jail, and at that time perhaps we can incorporate that land in being the western anchor of our master planned downtown. That master plan also recognizes the expansion of our downtown conference center. During the second half of 2008, we issued a request for qualifications for firms to provide design services for a new conference center to be built across from City Hall and the current conference center there in the current parking lot on Church Street. We did select several of those firms to put together actual proposals, which we have received here near the end of 2008. And we will be moving forward on looking at sometime early in 2009 is possible implementation. So when you consider all of those things together, I think you can see that in calendar 2008 we had the coming together of a lot of things on downtown and actually putting us in a position to decide what will be the future for downtown Douglasville. Now, number one on my list, actually it was not a difficult choice. I think the most important event that happened in the City of Douglasville government in 2008 was the approval of the general obligation bond issue to build the new public safety and municipal court building. Now, prior to the September 16th special election, in which the voters did authorize the issuance of $23 million in GO bonds to finance this, we did a lot of City TV programming. I know I had at least 3 programs concerning what was involved with this, the needs in our police department. I know Mayor Thompson had a program that he did on Ask the Mayor. I know Chief Wisnett did a program on the police beat. So I think if you're a regular viewer of City TV, you heard a lot about the need and some of the details prior to the time for the September 16th special election. But since that election, I know I've had a program in which we talked about where we go from here, and we thanked everybody for their support. And I know that the chief has also had a program on City TV talking about the police department being delighted with the results of the referendum and looking ahead. In other words, we've already presented a lot of information to the viewers, so I'm not going to go into detail during this particular program other than hit a few highlights. This will be a 70,000 square foot building, of which 7,000 square feet will be unfinished basement space. It'll be a 2-story brick building plus the basement. It'll be located on a site on Georgia Highway 92 on the west side, not too far south of the I-20 interchange. Based on the results that we received from a detailed needs assessment, this new building should take care of our space needs for law enforcement purposes for the next 20 years. And so we're looking forward to moving now into the implementation of this. At a point down the road when this building is completed, and I think 7 different buildings in which our police department currently is located in the downtown area, they will move into the new building, but the current police station will be turned into a police precinct because we do intend to maintain a presence in downtown Douglasville. Now, late in 2008, the city announced that it would receive responses to a request for qualifications document that we presented for design build services. More than a dozen firms responded. We selected those who met the minimum qualifications. They will be given a request for proposal and a copy of the plans that the city has, preliminary plans for this building. These had been prepared for us back in the early part, the spring of 2008. So we own preliminary plans that will be used by whomever is selected, probably during the month of March when the selection will take place, and we'll proceed toward construction of that new facility, which will be, I think, a landmark for the city of Douglasville. So there you have it. That's my top 10 list. While I won't try to compete with David Letterman, I think it does show that we had a lot of activity in Douglasville in 2008 because that was an important year for the city government. And I appreciate you being with me today to hear my countdown on the top 10 events in the city of Douglasville in calendar 2008. This is Bill Osborne, City Manager. Whether you agree with my list of the top 10 events and the sequence of those, I appreciate you watching. If you have some other events in the city that you think I should have included, just let me know. But for today, Signing off, this is Bill Osborne, City Manager in Douglasville. I look forward to being with you the next time on The Agenda.